Melissa will be a better mother than you ever were, Mark declared, tossing the divorce papers onto our kitchen counter. She's younger, more patient, and the kids already love her. I stood there, gripping my coffee mug so hard my knuckles turned white, but my voice remained steady. Is that what you really think, Mark? My name is Emma Parker, and at 35, I never imagined I'd be standing in my kitchen listening to my husband of 12 years explain why his 26-year-old mistress would be a better mother to our children. The kids need stability, he continued, running his hand through his graying hair. Your constant work trips, the late nights at the hospital, it's not fair to them. Melissa can be there full-time. I took a slow sip of my coffee, letting the bitter taste ground me. As an emergency room nurse, I learned to stay calm in crisis situations. This was just another emergency, albeit a personal one. And you think abandoning their mother is stability? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. Tell me, Mark, does Melissa know about your plans for my children? He shifted uncomfortably, adjusting his too-tight designer shirt. Another recent change since Melissa entered the picture. Our children, he corrected. And yes, she's excited about being their new mom. She's already looking at houses with better school districts. I set down my mug and pulled out my phone. That's interesting, I said, scrolling through my files. Because that's not what she told her friend Jessica last week at the cafe. Mark's face flickered with uncertainty. What are you talking about? You see, Mark, when our daughter Emily came home 3 months ago talking about Daddy's special friend who bought her ice cream, I started paying attention. And when our son Tyler mentioned that Melissa promised him a new gaming system if he kept their mall trips a secret, I started recording. I pressed play on my phone, and Melissa's voice filled our kitchen. God, no, I don't want his kids. They're so annoying, especially the little one. But Mark's loaded, and once we're married, I'll convince him to send them to boarding school or something. His wife's too busy saving lives or whatever to fight for custody. Mark's face drained of color. That's not real. You're making this up. I played another recording. Yeah, babe, Emma works tonight, Mark's voice this time. We can use the house. The kids are at my mother's. No, don't worry about them. Once the divorce is final, we'll figure something out. You won't have to deal with them much, I promise. There's more, I said calmly, watching his facade crumble. Like your conversation about using my work schedule against me in custody proceedings. Or Melissa's detailed plans for spending my children's college funds on her lifestyle business. Would you like to hear those too? Mark slumped against the counter, his arrogance deflating. How did you? I'm a mother, Mark. I pay attention. And while you were busy planning your new life with Melissa, I was protecting our children. Emma, we can talk about this, he started, but I cut him off. Oh, we will talk about this. Tomorrow with my lawyer. She's very interested in these recordings, especially the parts where you and Melissa discuss hiding assets before filing for divorce. I picked up the divorce papers he'd thrown at me. By the way, your mother called yesterday. Apparently, Emily told her about Melissa's promise to get rid of that old nurse so she could be their new mommy. Your mother was disturbed. Mark's face had taken on a sickly pallor. His mother, a former family court judge, had always been our biggest supporter. The thought of her knowing about his plans seemed to hit him harder than anything else. The kids, he began weakly, are staying with me, I finished firmly. And if you try to fight this, every recording goes public. I wonder how your medical practice partners would feel about their respected colleague plotting to abandon his children. I gathered my things, preparing for my hospital shift. You have until tomorrow to decide, Mark. Either we handle this civilly with joint custody and fair division of assets, or everyone learns exactly what kind of father you really are. As I walked toward the door, I turned back one last time. Oh, and Mark. Melissa's been seeing her ex-boyfriend Jason on the side. There's a recording of that too, if you're interested. I left him standing in our kitchen, surrounded by the ruins of his carefully constructed plans. My hands were shaking as I got into my car, but my mind was clear. I'd spent 3 months gathering evidence, protecting my children, and preparing for this moment. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark's mother. I'm so sorry, Emma. I've already called my lawyer friend. We'll make sure the kids are safe. Another buzz, this time from the hospital. Multiple vehicle accident incoming. All hands needed. I took a deep breath, put my phone away, and started the car. I had patients to save, children to protect, and a future to secure. Mark and Melissa's plans for my family were about to unravel, and I have front row seats to watch it all fall apart. As I drove to work, I thought about my children safely staying with my sister for the weekend. They had no idea their world was about to change, but I'd make sure they came through it stronger. After all, that's what mothers do. We protect our own, even when it means fighting the people we once trusted most. The night shift ahead would be busy, but I was used to handling emergencies. And compared to the crisis I just navigated at home, a multiple vehicle accident seemed almost straightforward. At least in the ER, I knew exactly who my enemies were. The next morning hit me like a freight train. After a grueling 12-hour shift dealing with the accident victims, I'd walked into my lawyer's office running on nothing but coffee and determination. Sarah, my lawyer and longtime friend, was already reviewing the recordings when I arrived. "These are gold, Emma," she said, looking up from her laptop. "The part where they discuss hiding assets, that's going to make this very easy." I sank into the leather chair across from her desk, exhaustion seeping into my bones. "Mark hasn't stopped calling since last night. 27 missed calls." "Let him sweat," Sarah replied, pulling out a thick folder. "His mother called me this morning. She's willing to testify about Melissa's interactions with the kids if needed. Apparently, she's been keeping her own records." A knock on the door interrupted us. Mark stood there, looking disheveled in yesterday's clothes. The smug businessman facade had crumbled, replaced by something closer to panic. "Emma, please," he started, but Sarah cut him off. "Mr. Parker, if you want to speak with my client, you'll need to do it through proper legal channels." He ignored her, his eyes fixed on me. "The recordings, Melissa says they're fake. She wouldn't say those things about our kids." I pulled out my phone, too tired for games. "Would you like to hear the one from last Tuesday, when she told Emily that mommy doesn't love her enough to stay home?" Mark's face crumpled. "I didn't know." "No, you didn't?" I agreed. "Because you were too busy planning your new life to notice what was happening to your children. Did you know Tyler's grades have dropped? That Emily's been having nightmares?" Sarah cleared her throat. "Mr. Parker, we have a proposed settlement agreement prepared. I suggest you review it with your lawyer." I watched as Mark skimmed the documents, his face growing paler with each page. Joint custody, but primary physical custody would be mine. The house would stay in my name. The children's college funds would be placed in a protected trust. "This is everything," he whispered. "You're taking everything." "No, Mark," I corrected him. "I'm protecting everything. Our children, their future, their stability. The things you were willing to sacrifice for Melissa." His phone buzzed. The look on his face as he read the message told me everything I needed to know. "Let me guess," I said quietly. "Melissa's not happy about the recordings." He slumped into a chair. She's leaving. Says this is too much drama. That I promised her an easy divorce and comfortable life. Not this." Sarah handed him a pen. "The settlement, Mr. Parker. Either sign it now, or we take this to court with all the evidence." As he reached for the pen, another knock echoed through the office. This time, it was Mark's mother, Patricia, her silver hair immaculate as always, her expression carved from stone. "I thought I'd find you here," she said to Mark. "The hospital board would like to speak with you. Something about ethical concerns regarding your recent behavior?" Mark's head snapped up. "Mom, you didn't." "I didn't have to," Patricia cut in. "Emily told her pediatrician about Melissa's promises and threats. The doctor, being a mandated reporter, felt obligated to inform the relevant parties." I watched as the last pieces of Mark's world crumbled around him. His carefully constructed plans, his dreams of a fresh start with Melissa, his reputation, all of it falling apart in this small office. He signed the papers without another word. As he stood to leave, Patricia blocked his path. "One more thing," she said, her voice ice cold. "I've spoken with Emily's therapist. We've documented every interaction between Melissa and the children. If either of you come near them without proper supervision, the recordings won't be your only problem." After they left, I finally let the tears come. Sarah pushed a box of tissues across her desk, giving me a moment to collect myself. "You did good, Emma," she said softly. "The kids are safe. That's what matters." My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "Kids are asking about pancakes for dinner. Coming home soon." Through my tears, I smiled. Pancakes for dinner, our family's traditional comfort food. Tonight, we need it. Just one more thing, Sarah said as I gathered my things. The hospital board, they're not just concerned about Mark. They're impressed with how you handled everything while maintaining your professional responsibilities. The head nurse mentioned something about a promotion. I paused at the door, thinking about the future stretching out before us. It wouldn't be easy. Divorce never is, especially with children involved. But we would face it together, my children and I, with pancakes for dinner and the truth as our shield. First pancakes, I said. Then we'll talk about the future. 6 months later, I stood in our redecorated living room, watching Emily and Tyler help each other with homework. The changes in them were subtle but significant. Emily's nightmares had stopped, and Tyler's grades were back up. Sometimes the best medicine is simply truth and stability. Mark had stuck to the custody agreement, though his visits became less frequent after Melissa publicly moved in with her ex-boyfriend Jason. The children's initial confusion had given way to understanding, helped along by their weekly sessions with Dr. Martinez, their therapist. "Mom," Tyler called out, looking up from his math homework. "Can we have pancakes tonight?" I smiled, remembering that first night after the lawyer's office. Pancakes had become our symbol of resilience, a reminder that we could make something sweet out of life's bitter moments. "Sure, buddy. But first, I have some news to share with both of you." They looked up expectantly. Emily's dark hair fell across her face, so much like her father's, but her determined expression was all mine. "Remember how I've been working extra shifts lately?" They nodded. "Well, it's because the hospital offered me a new position. I'll be the emergency department's clinical coordinator." "Does that mean more work?" Tyler asked, his forehead creasing with worry. "Actually, it means more regular hours. I'll be home most evenings, and we'll have more weekends together." Emily's face lit up. "Really? No more overnight shifts?" "Very few," I promised, "and Aunt Jessica will still help out when needed." The promotion had come as a surprise, though Patricia, who still served on the hospital board, later admitted she'd spoken highly of my professional conduct during the divorce. Sometimes, handling personal crises with grace has unexpected professional benefits. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Kids still on for this weekend?" I replied with a simple yes, our communication now limited to logistics about the children. It wasn't ideal, but it was peaceful, and peace was what we needed. Later that evening, as we gathered around the kitchen island making pancakes, the doorbell rang. Patricia stood there, holding a familiar box. "I found these while cleaning out my attic," she said, setting the box on our counter. "I thought the children might want to see them." Inside were photo albums from when Mark and I were first married, when the kids were babies. Pictures of happier times, before ambition and selfishness tore our family apart. "You're still family," Patricia said quietly, watching the kids flip through the albums. "What my son did, it doesn't change that." She became an unexpected ally, ensuring the children maintained a connection to their father's family while fiercely protecting them from Melissa's influence. Last month, when Melissa tried to contact Tyler through social media, Patricia had handled it before I even knew about it. As we shared pancakes and memories, I realized we created something new from the ashes of my marriage, not a broken family, but a reconstructed one, stronger in its repaired places. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Sarah. "Final paperwork filed. It's officially over." I excused myself for a moment, needing space to absorb this milestone. Standing in my bedroom, now painted a peaceful blue instead of the beige Mark had insisted on, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked different, stronger, more myself. The sound of laughter drifted up from the kitchen. Emily was telling Patricia about her science project, Tyler adding his own commentary between bites of pancake. This was our reality now, and it was a good one. I rejoined them, sliding back into my seat as Tyler began explaining his latest video game strategy to his grandmother. Patricia caught my eye and smiled, a look of understanding passing between us. "More pancakes, Mom?" Emily asked, holding up the spatula. "Yes," I said, watching my daughter carefully flip the pancake, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "I'd love some." Life wasn't perfect. It never is. But as I sat there with my children and their grandmother, sharing pancakes and planning weekend adventures, I knew we'd found our way to something better than perfect. We'd found our truth, our strength, and most importantly, our peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting better. Mark and Melissa could have their drama and schemes. We had pancakes, homework, and love. In the end, we got the better deal.